B'Shem HaShem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, Bruchim habayim to our Tuesday night shiur. We have the Ikvita the Mashiach series, Era of MaShiach. Tonight's shiur will be for a Ilui Nishmat Meir ben Aaroni, and also for a Refuah Shlema for Liel bat Miriam, Miriam bat Beila, Kochava bat Liel, Ariel bat Kochava, Esther bat Tzipora, Dvora bat Mercedes, Yitro ben Avraham, Talia bat Sarah, Orit bat Ilana, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rav Efraim ben Shulamit, Michal bat Yael, Batya bat Sarah, Serach bat Batya, Stefan ben Katarina, Jonas ben Sherry Haley, and also a David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, also for a Atzlacha Rabba for Shaul ben Farzane, Liora bat Liel, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, Yitro ben Avraham, and all of Am Yisrael, especially the ones that help us do all the wonderful things we're doing. Baruch HaShem, we have some... not working? Oh, it's not okay if it's not working. Someone test it to see if it's working. Test it yourself. You test it on you. Don't worry about it. Oh, you don't have a Facebook. No. Working? Not working?
Yeah, it works now.
Works now. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, we have some interesting news, some good news, some stuff in the development, Baruch Hashem, and we have our shiur. So as far as the interesting development is that this week is going to be the last week. I think it's this week, most likely, maybe next week, but most likely this week is going to be the last week that we're going to be doing shiurim in this location. The shiur, the Bet Knesset is making some changes, so we have to find a different location to do a shiur. I don't know yet where the shiur is going to be. We still haven't gathered enough money to buy a building or anything, and we haven't finalized anything in regards to any leasing or anything. So as of right now, we're waiting for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to open the door of where He wants us to continue our shiurim. But from here we have to move. So that's development number one. Zot Hashem, we'll pray for it, that Hashem will give us a quick solution like He has many times before. We've made the changes several times over the years, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu always opened the door before we even recognize that the first one is closed. So that's one thing. We have a couple of pretty amazing projects that have been in the works for some time, that are coming soon. One of them is that Be'ezrat Hashem, we are probably I want to say a week, 2 weeks or less away from opening Be'ezrat Hashem a girls' seminary. A girls' seminary in Yerushalayim. We're working with Rabbi Benjamin Alimi, and right now, because of everything that's going on with the coronavirus, unfortunately what's happening is that the boys have some places to go. They pray. Even though the yeshivot are closed, they're able to go pray a few times a week. There's some shiurim for the guys. But unfortunately, the girls don't really have much to do. And what's actually happening right now is that the religious community is suffering drastically because of this coronavirus, because the lack of learning. People don't understand how valuable learning is until it's missing for a few months. So unfortunately, there's a lot of boys and girls that are falling off and weakening, and in some cases even much worse, Shem Yishmo. But actually the boys are holding up better than the girls, and the reality is that if the girls are falling, then the boys are going to follow. So we decided to take the initiative and start a girls' seminary in Yerushalayim. B'ezrat Hashem, more details of the location will come probably within the next few days, a week, something like that. Anyone that wants to join us as far as donations and things of that nature, you're more than welcome to. Whether you want to donate $500 a month or $1,000 a month or more, whatever you can do, it's fantastic. It's the whole thing is free. It's going to be, we're not charging anybody. It's going to be at least 3 times a week for 2 to 5 hours, depending on the schedule of different people. We're going to bring different strong speakers to help these young girls get some chizuk. We're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 girls. 400 girls to be part of this seminary, and Rabbi Eliyahu has an enormous amount of experience working in the community, and he has actually a different organization that he built over the last 15 years that he does for boys for part of the year, but there's nothing going on for girls. And we work. When this came to my desk, it's not cheap, and it's not something that you could sit on your hands and wait for somebody to say, "Oh yeah, you know what? I'll donate for it." You just have to simply act and simply rely on mi gdimani ve'ashalem. Who did me a favor first? Hashem says, and I'll pay for it. In essence, you have to front the money ahead of time to make things happen, and pray that HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes it enough that He's going to send you the money back. Simply because there's a lot of work. I could say comfortably a lot of work that we do to try to bring the young Am Yisrael and old back to HaShem. A lot of work. A lot of kids that grew up in secular houses, or in houses that have a lot of confusion, whether it be philosophy-minded modern Orthodox, or it could be Zionistic-minded, or whatever the case is. But for the most part, you see that they, every week we talk about different new stories, new developments. Some people that have done tshuva, and you see a lot of these people are coming from all walks of life. Some are coming from the secular world, some are coming from the religious communities, Hasidish, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Litvish, all types of communities. Really, the shiurim that we have are applying to everyone. And interestingly enough, against what a lot of people think, a lot of Chabadniks love our shiurim, despite the fact that we're very hated by some of them. A lot of them love us, and for the same reason of what we say. We say the truth, and they know there's something wrong. And the ones that know that there's something wrong love the shiurim and are very, very big fans. Some pretty serious Talmidei Chachamim are big fans of ours, which actually reminds me that the shiur will also be for refuah shlema for Avraham ben Zion ben Fega bat Aviva, and also his wife Sheina Chana bat Herzl. Kadosh Baruch Hu give them refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf. So anyway, a lot of Chabadniks actually are loving the shiurim. A few in the last few days have told me that they've become addicted to them. So Baruch Hashem, a lot of people are doing tshuva from all walks of life. Some from England, some from America, some from Israel, some from Africa, some from Australia, some from Switzerland, the Philippines, Abu Dhabi. It's unbelievable. I have even a few Muslims, a few people that were born Muslims that are interested in Judaism. In fact, I have another guy that just came yesterday that he calls himself a Muslim Jew. Why is he a Muslim Jew? Because he is one of those stories that we talked to you guys about, of how unfortunately young Jewish women married some Muslim and adopted their faith to their own, willingly or unwillingly. And the kids are born, grow up, and not realizing that they're actually Jewish, because halachically, if the mom is Jewish, the kids are Jewish. And he is already grown up, and now he's been watching the shiurim for some time, and he says, I realize I'm Jewish. The only problem is that I'm married to a Muslim woman, and I got kids. So what do? Do I put on tefillin? Do I not put on tefillin? Do I pray? Do I not pray? So the answer is, of course you pray. Of course you do all of the mitzvot. And also try to get your wife to jump on board as well. But the point being is that there's people from all walks of life that are doing tshuva, Baruch Hashem, every single day. Now, the same token, after you work so hard to get people to do tshuva, and then you hear that there's entire communities in America, in Israel, where the religious communities are having young kids, teenagers that were going to yeshiva, going to seminary, but haven't been going to school for some time now because of this coronavirus situation, are now, because of lack of learning, they're falling off like the leaves fall in the winter. They're falling off and becoming less and less religious. Some of them are becoming completely, against it in some cases. Hashem Yishmo. So when you work so hard to bring a few neshamot back to Hashem, and then you hear that at the same time there's some that were already in that are now falling, you got to do something about it. So that's why we decided that when we got the call that there's an opportunity to help Klal Yisrael by opening a seminary, and an opportunity to help not 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 people, but 400 girls, then we figured that we have to do something. So again, like I said, anyone that has a little mercy in their heart and a few dollars in their in their pockets, they want to sponsor this specific project, you're more than welcome to. I would say comfortably speaking, we're going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of about $20,000 a month to run it, because like I said, it's free. We're not charging them anything. Like everything else, that's usually our best price. We offer it. It's the best price. It's been going pretty good for the last 6-7 years. Everybody likes that price. Anyway, we're going to have it starting with at least 3 days a week, a few hours a day. We're going to bring some strong speakers. We have to pay the speakers because they have to make a living. Bottom line is that what needs to be done needs to be done. So anyone that wants to be involved is more than welcome to. We don't have a special campaign for it on the internet. It takes hours to put those campaigns together, and I don't have the time nor the patience to do another one. So if you want to donate, you could just simply donate on the website, be'ezrat-hashem.org, or on the application, and you could simply send me a text message and tell me this is for that, and I would say thank you very much, or you could send me an email to say it. But the point is that a lot of opportunities there. Aside from that, there is a upgrade on our app. An upgrade on our app coming, which, by the way, if you haven't downloaded our app and you're still watching our shiurim on YouTube, now if you don't have a phone, then I guess that's a reason why you're not watching it on the app. But if you have a phone and you're still watching it on YouTube, you got to fix that scratch on your brain as soon as possible. And the reason why is because YouTube is going to distract you with a lot of different things, and it's very hard to pay attention. Same thing as if you're watching it on Facebook, it's fine, but it's better to watch it on the app, because on the app there's no distractions. You could actually study the shiur instead of go to different things. But there's actually, a few people in the past have complained, oh, maybe it's certain things are slow, certain things are fast, certain this. Anyway, long story short, we have, Baruch Hashem, a new update coming, I think in the next few days, that will speed up the shiurim to be as fast or even faster than YouTube. Baruch Hashem, our team is full of geniuses that have a lot of siyata dishmaya. The combination goes pretty well. So that's another thing. Third, is one that's a different app. A different app that's we've been working on for several months now. But that I'm going to keep you in suspense. Just because. No. I'm keeping in suspense because it involves another person, and I don't know whether I want them to announce it or for me to announce it, but you could figure it out. Anyway, lots of interesting things, Baruch Hashem, to learn that we learned today for the shiur. There is Baruch Hashem, an enormous amount of information. The last several months, the Ikvita the Mashiach series has gotten a lot of people, a lot of neshamot to wake up and smell the coffee, because you're seeing everything that he wrote 80 years ago in the news every day. And now with this whole election fiasca that's happening, everybody's very overly dramatic about it. You know, voter fraud and this and that, all this stuff. Remember what I told you guys, you know, right before the election. Whether this puppet wins or that puppet wins, HaKadosh Baruch Hu always wins. It's simply HaKadosh Baruch Hu deciding who he wants to use to do his will. Now the problem is, and one of my Rav told me, and he heard it from one of the Gedolei Israel, that Am Yisrael made a very big mistake in the last few months, especially, is that you see that so many Jewish people have spent their nights like days talking about Donald Trump, as if he is MaShiach, as if he is the Gog of Magog, you know, either you love him or you hate him, as if this, as if that. So many people talked about it. They started even using different verses from the Torah. Oh, you see, this rabbi said that there's a Torah code that says that Donald Trump is going to win. Aside from the fact that this is stupid to do, just outright stupid, it's a misuse of the Torah. You are not supposed to try to predict the future. You leave the sodot, the secrets, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But unfortunately, people like to get YouTube hits. People like to get their article likes. So they say dumb things, and they say, look, I'm using the Torah, or misusing the Torah, say that I'm going to find Donald Trump's name, and then I'm going to find the year 5781, or whatever else they combine. I don't watch any of these stupid videos. I have better things to do with my time, but people tell me this stuff happens. And they, this means that he's going to win. Now, aside from the fact that this is turning the Torah into a fortune cookie, and it's a real ridiculous, it's something that is not good to do specifically, because in case you are wrong, in case your code of the future, if it's the past and you already know that it happened, that's one thing. You know this happened. You're looking for the Holocaust, it's in the Torah. You're looking for AIDS, it's in the Torah. It's happened, you know where to find it, and you have enough chachamim agreeing that this is what it is, no problem. But you yourself, Mr. Nice Guy that has a computer and likes to play with the computer all day to find Torah codes, because you have nothing better to do in your life. You don't know any halachot. You don't know anything about Gemara. You don't know anything about Musar. You don't even know how to behave between you and your wife and kids. But all day you're spending with codes. All day you're spending with codes. And all day, you are misinforming the public. Why? Because there is always a possibility that you are human too. Aside from being all the other things I described and the things that I'm thinking, you're human, which means that you are subject to error. Your code could be wrong. Or perhaps HaKadosh Baruch Hu could say, this code is available and the other code is available. We mean the opposite. But you were looking for something specific. And the reality is that you could be wrong. And guess what? Your message will cause more damage and chilul Hashem than any benefit could have ever happened as a result of it. Why? Because had you said and your friend said and all of these, fortune tellers say that the Donald Trump is going to win, this is going to happen, all these fortune tellers tell you the future of what's going to happen with specific dates nonetheless. They all get together and each one wants to beat the other guy with their codes. Okay? Let's say you're right. Let's say what you predicted actually happens. How many people are going to remember you 5 seconds after it happens? And say, it said it in the Torah, on YouTube, on Rabbi such and such, the fortune teller. He said it. Oh, that's going to make me keep Shabbat now. Oh, that's going to make me put on tefillin now. Who's going to do that? What good is going to come out of it? If you're right, the best case scenario, someone's going to do tshuva because of it. Someone's going to read a Sefer Musa because of it. Someone's going to read Alakha Yomit, just one Alakha per day because of it. No one's going to do nothing. It's just entertainment. What are you, HBO? Are you Netflix? On the other hand, you're opening double doors, the size of the doors of the Bet HaMikdash, for the Mekatregim, for the Leitzim, for those people that are going against Am Yisrael, those people that make fun of Am Yisrael, including the ones that are part of Am Yisrael. That what? The moment they find anything wrong, they're going to highlight it in 1.5 million different ways. And say, look, he said, the Torah said that Donald Trump is going to win, and Baidu won, and look what happened over here. And Baidu is a company, it's like Google in China. It's supposed to be a joke, guys. Anyway, Biden won. It suck. Anyway, that was a good joke. I worked at it all 3 seconds. It was actually live. Anyway, so the guy won, the Torah is wrong, look at that, I'm not going to keep Shabbat anymore. You know how many guys send me questions? You know how many guys send me this question right after, seconds after the election? So the whole thing of what happened the last few days. Donald Trump lost. What does this say about the Torah? Since many big rabbis, no big rabbi said it, since many big rabbis, he thinks they're big rabbis because they have a lot of views on the internet. Since many big rabbis said that he's going to win, what does this say about the Torah? If there was another 300-400 messages that I had to deal with, I would have taken my phone and thrown it against the garbage, against the wall. So upset at the stupidity of people. Not the people that are listening to these videos. The ones that are making them. The ones that are listening are victims. They see a guy with a beard as long as the exile. They see a guy that's as old as the Tanakh. He says that something's supposed to happen, and it doesn't happen. It gets you, oh, hold on a second. So maybe if it says that Donald Trump's going to win and he doesn't win, so maybe I don't have to keep Shabbat, because it says to keep Shabbat. Maybe that's how it works now. I don't have to keep Shabbat anymore. I have at least one kid. I don't know, he's 15, 16 years old kid. Suddenly has questions. He goes to yeshiva in, I don't know, Australia or something. And suddenly he has questions since this whole Torah codes happened. Suddenly he's questioning whether he wants to continue with the yeshiva. Like, HaShem Yishmo v'yatzil. Don't we have enough problems? We're just creating it. For what? For YouTube views. For fame, for fortune. For ego. So as I've told you guys many times, Torah codes are what the Mishnah in Avot said. Mishnah in Avot says, was written over 2,500 years ago. Parperaot lechokhmah. It's like seasonings to wisdom. It's not wisdom itself. It's not the steak. It's the little few peppers on top of it. Whether you have it or you don't have it, you're still going to eat the steak and it's still delicious. Don't turn these Torah codes and everything else that's like it, Gematria and others, into this is what the Torah says. It's not what the Torah says. This is what this Baidu guy said. This is what his friend Google said. This is what his friend the old man said. If it's things that are based on the past and it's things that have been simply agreed upon, major chachamim, of things that have happened, it's still nice, but it's not halakha. But nonetheless, it's nice. But as far as predicting what's going to happen a week from now, a day from now, 5 seconds from now, don't even watch the videos. Unsubscribe. Abandon it. Discourage others from doing it. It'll cause more damage in your life than anything else, similar to horoscopes. Horoscopes, by the way, you're not allowed to read the stuff that's on the newspapers. Aside from the fact that it's a whole scam, and it's stupid, it's also, certain things are forbidden, certain things that people do. Yes, there is horoscopes in the Torah that is allowed, and so on and so forth. I actually recommended the teachings of Rabbi Eliyahu Kin out of California. He has a whole series about horoscopes and what the actual mazalot mean according to Judaism. But don't go spend your life or time or even 5 seconds reading what the horoscope is on the internet. It's all generic, computer-generated stuff. It has nothing to do with you. It's just they give general stuff that will simply fit most people. And if it doesn't, so what? You're going to have a tough week. Oh man, I can't believe it. Rabbi, what should I do? The horoscope said that since I'm a Cancer, maybe I'm going to have cancer. I said, oh, you're stupid, but cancer you don't have. We should fix the stupid problem. I think it's much more critical. You're figuring out your future off of something that's said on the internet. Stop it. Stop being so dumb. Stop being so gullible. Falling for every trap the Satan gives us. Go learn some more Torah. Fix yourself as a human being. And that's it. But that's the problem. People are constantly looking for shortcuts or some type of dumb thing, some fortune teller or a Ouija board or tarot cards or some other dumb format of communication. You want to communicate to Hashem? Open the Chumash. Open the Siddur. Open a Gemara. Press BezratHashem.org. Press play. That's it. You don't need much. You don't need much. Don't go to all of these other things, because more likely they'll cause more damage in your life than anything else. I have a bunch of people that are, I almost want to block them, but I feel bad for them. They send me these hysterical emails and text messages after every one of these dumb videos that they watch. Rabbi such and such said that this catastrophe is going to happen in 3 days. What do you have to say? Delete. What I have to say. Why are you sending me this message? That's what I have to say. Rabbi such and such or speaker such and such says that this is going to happen. Enough. You have to learn Torah every single day of your life. Whether the world ends in 3 days or it doesn't, you're still going to have to learn Torah for the next 3 days. You're still going to have to learn Torah for the next 3 days. Don't focus on all this fortune telling. Because a lot of people become very anxious. They hear some stuff. They think it's true. They think it's going to happen. I had one woman leave her husband and kids. Leave her husband and kids in America, move to Israel because of one of these hysterical craziness things of somebody putting a time lot and an exact timing on when MaShiach was going to come. She literally abandoned her family. She sold her retirement. She sold everything, abandoned her family, moved to Israel. What about your kids? No, I got to move. They didn't want to come. I can't wait. I can't afford it. What, are you insane? Why would you do it? No, I don't know. Listen, it sounded really serious. So, but who said it? Rabbi such and such. Okay, is he Moshe Rabbeinu? Is he Moshe Rabbeinu? Is it Allah? What do he say? Is it Rambam? Is it Shulchan Aruch? Who is he? No, he's famous. He gets 50,000 hits on YouTube. You have to be smarter than that, guys. Bemet. Seriously, I try to make light of the issue, but bemet. It's really, you have to be smarter than that. Stop falling for the straps. Stop with the tying. Listen, every day you got to learn Torah. This is also part of the reason why, generally speaking, despite it being the Era of Mashiach series, I don't necessarily spend so much time talking about what's going to happen after the Mashiach comes or specifically timing it. Yes, we know it's coming any day. Yes, we know it's close. But the most important focus is to understand where we have been, where we are, and where we need to be. And what we need to do to get there. Because that's the focus of Judaism. It's not pinpointing timing. It's not caring about who's going to win, who's going to not. And I can tell you that one Chacham said that he believes, and I agree with him, that at least one of the countless reasons, not that we're in Hashem's mind or even can understand it, but one of the logical reasons of why it would not make sense for Hashem to put Donald Trump as president again is simply because Jews had too much belief in him. They've turned him into a Mashiach. They've turned him into a Mashiach. The Gemara Masechet Megillah, page 15, says, why did Esther, a Malka, invite Haman, the Amaleki, the Satan himself of the generation, the Hitler of his generation? Why did she invite him? Now you're going to tell me, yeah, but that was part of the story. She invited him in order to trap him. No, she didn't have to do that. She could have just simply invited the Achashverosh, told him the whole story after 1 or 2 dinners, and he would have killed Haman anyway. Why did she have to invite Haman to the dinner? What purpose did it serve? Amar Rab Nachmani, one of the sages of the Gemara, says, because once she invited Haman, Am Yisrael all of a sudden lost all confidence they had in her. Why? Until now, Am Yisrael was saying, listen, whatever Haman wants to do, he can't do nothing to us. Why? Our girl's in the house. Our girl's running the show. She has a Achashverosh around her finger. She's going to take care of business. Our girl's in the White House. What are we scared of? Yeah, they released in a newspaper that the day they're going to kill everybody, Kristallnacht and all that stuff. But now the Jews are like, nah, now don't worry about nothing. Why? Our girl's in the house. She's the queen. You worried? What are you worried? You have no emunah? You don't have any. You don't have any emunah. Esther HaMalka was a genius. She said, they have too much confidence in me. And they're not even praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have any mercy. They're not even praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we didn't forget you. So what she do? She invites Haman. Why? Now, whoa, hold on a second. You invite Haman. Maybe she's dating Haman on the side. Maybe she's an Amalekite also. Maybe she turned against us. This beep, 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 beep. And I always hated her. You know what? I always thought all of a sudden everybody has everything else to say. All of a sudden they lost all confidence in her. Why? Because she invited the enemy. And that forced them to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, Ribono Shel Olam, we have nothing. Even the one that we thought was our friend is not our friend. Look, she's BFFs with the enemy. She invited him to dinner. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have nothing. All we have is a decree that in a short period of time, they're going to kill all of us. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, have mercy on us. Am Yisrael started crying. Crying, rivers of blood crying. And guess what? The decree was changed. Why? Because they prayed to the right source. When Am Yisrael has spent the last several months, needless to say the last several years, either hating Donald Trump as if he's God and he can run the world and he ruined their life, or as if he's the MaShiach and he's going to save their life and he's protecting Israel and he's this and he's that, it's all the reason in the world for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove him. Why? It's ruining us. It's ruining us. At least a half a dozen times to a dozen times an hour, I get messages from people about the elections, about Donald Trump, about the enemy, about the frauds, and about, it's so dumb already. People are literally making themselves spiritually stupid, not even by looking at heresy, by simply making themselves heretical just by having so much faith in whatever system they have and forgetting who runs the world. You think that either he or he can do something without a Kadosh Baruch Hu signing off on it? And you call yourself a religious Jew? You've lost all faith because the other guy won that you didn't want him to win, and you think that we're in trouble because of that? That's why we're in trouble? We're not in trouble because there's 80% of us are not keeping Shabbat? We're not in trouble because most of us are not even marrying Jews? We're not in trouble because the dishonesty in business has become simply standard? That's not the reason why we're in trouble. We're in trouble because some old man is in the White House. That's why we're in trouble. And you call yourself a religious Jew? People are spending so much time on this stupidity that it's literally forcing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand to see, you know what? Let me mess with them a little bit. Let me mess with them a little bit. And that's actually what's happening. And this has everything to do with our shiur. Rav Wasserman, alav hashalom, for the last several months, has taught us time and time again that although we've been in the exile for over 2,000 years, or approximately 2,000 years, And although we've had one destruction after another, millions of Jews being murdered in the open, whether it was in Greece, Rome, Spain, Germany, around the world, Poland, and so on and so forth. Generation after generation, we have some type of national disaster, some type of Holocaust, one worse than the other. Whereas the rest of the nations, you don't see much of that though. You don't see the Chinese people that have been around practically as long as we have. Longer even, because technically they became Chinese at the time of Noach. We only became Jews at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. The grandson of Noach was the Sini, Chinese. You don't see that there was a Chinese Holocaust every generation. Surely they had their own disasters. Surely they had their own, crime against their own people and civil wars and so on. But it was nowhere near like the Jewish people. In fact, the clearest evidence of it is that despite the fact that they have, for many years, for decades, had a policy that you're not allowed to have more than one child, their population continued to increase and they now have 2 billion people. Jewish people, we don't have any policy to limit our birth. We have a lot of people that hate us. We hate ourselves sometimes, but we barely are a rounding error when it comes to the national population. 20 million at best that we know about. You don't see that there was any type of Holocaust that happened to any of the other major nations to the same extent. And if they had one, it was simply the end of the nation. It was the end of those people. Where it's pretty clear that the rules that Am Yisrael is following, or perhaps the rules that HaShem is using to manage Am Yisrael, are quite different than the rest of the world. If a people leave their country and go to another, what happens? They stop being those people. If the Pikachus leave Pikachu land and go to the Honduras, within a generation or two, they're no longer known as the Pikachu people, they're known as the Honduran people. If they go to China, they become Chinese. If they go to Germany, they become Germans. But no matter what the Jews did, and no matter where they went, they still stuck out like a sore thumb, whether they were a small population of 5,000 in Venice, Italy, or they were in the millions in Poland. They still stuck out as the Jewish people. We see here, the rules are different for us. If a people left their land, or perhaps just decided to had enough immigration into their land, of a people that spoke a different language, to the extent where their mother language was lost, guess what? Once it's lost, throughout all of history, it's never found again. Once it's lost, it's gone. Once Ladino was lost, it's gone. Now, you can find a few random scholars here and there that speak Ladino, but if you go to some local store anywhere and start talking to them, speaking to them in Ladino, they're going to look at you with three, who are you? What are you talking about? If you start speaking to people in the French that they spoke 800 years ago, in France, they're going to look at you like, qu'est-ce que c'est? Who? What? What? Where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? Back to from the past? What's wrong with you? Same language, different, what's going on? Once the language was lost, gone. Am Yisrael, on the other hand, although there was a period of time where the entire world spoke Hebrew, at the beginning of the world, until the time of the Tower of Babel, right after the destruction of the entire world generation of Noach, 350 years later approximately, was the Tower of Babel. Until that time, which is nearly 2,000 years, the entire world only spoke Hebrew. At the Tower of Babel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made 70 languages come into the world to create confusion and so on. But Hebrew continued for many, many years. But because of the exile, the slavery, the pogroms, the inquisitions and so on, we started adopting other languages as we went to different countries. And at some point, Hebrew was virtually lost. Even at the time of the Rambam, he had to write his Mishneh Torah in Arabic also. He had to write his Torah, the Chachamim had to write their Torah in Aramaic. The Chachamim had to write the Torah in Yiddish. Chachamim had to write the Torah in German. In all types of languages. Because at one point, Hebrew was virtually unspoken. And yet, the only language in history that has ever resurfaced after being lost is Hebrew. No other language has ever done it. No other language can do it. Why? The principles, the rules of Am Yisrael are different. And yet, despite all of this, we've had many, many destructions and disasters with the same explanation, yet no one wants to listen, other than the Chachamim. Where we see that as soon as another nation makes enough sins for Kadosh Baruch Hu to get sick of them, makes enough sin to fill the cup to the top, Hashem simply destroys them from the face of the earth. The Assyrians are no more. Babylonians, gone. The Romans and the Greeks of 2,000 years ago, extinct like the dinosaurs. And many other nations that were huge, enormous, conquered the whole world. Gone. Persians. You know any Persians? Persians are not the Iranians. Two different people. It is Persia, but it's not. Different people. Greeks of today, not the same as Greeks 2,000 years ago. Different people. Egyptians of today, completely unrelated to the Egyptians of 3,000 years ago. They may call themselves the same name, but it's not the same thing. As soon as that nation, as great as it was, made enough sins for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to say, enough's enough, he simply wiped them off the map. With no memory, no history, and even whatever memory or history is written about them is an assumption at best. Yet Am Yisrael, every time we get upset mad, every time our sins get to a point of intolerable, Hashem never lets us get to as bad of a level apparently as the other nations, because before that happens, He brings us a Holocaust. When our intermarriage increases, our clock of a Holocaust begins. When our lack of observance of the Torah, and in fact the desecration of the Torah, increases, the damage that happens to us increases as well. It would be great. I remember when I was on Wall Street, we had a Bloomberg terminal, and you could pretty much make a chart for everything. Track the prices of corn and oil and all types of commodities and stocks and so on, all the way back to historical days. And even if you're good enough and you know what you're doing, you can even connect it to different things and events that happen in the world. I would love to have somebody do a research on certain topics and to see anti-Semitism, religiosity, or some other interesting ideas that I have, because I assure you that there is a correlation. Because we see it historically. And all of this, the Holocausts, the pogroms, the Inquisitions, the nightmare. Rav Wasserman has time and time again over the last several months, and this Ikvet the Mashiach has repeatedly told us all of it, not just some of it, but all of it is the fault of the leaders, which he calls the shepherds. All of it. Yeah, what about the technology? That's just a side thing to get you distracted of what's the real problem. What about immodesty? Yeah. That's because of the leaders. What about money? Yeah, that's this. Yeah, everything is connected to the leaders. Why? The fish rots from the top, stinks from the top. And time again he tells us that our people have not done tshuva, have not returned to their Father in heaven as a result of the leadership, whether it be political leadership or religious leadership or combination thereof. Now, he now continues and he says, to the clear-thinking person, the history of the Jewish people runs in an individual and unique course, dissimilar to that of any other race or nation. Those who apply common political conceptions to Jewish exile politics measure by a false rule and weigh on a misleading balance, like merchandise that's measured by the meter and milk by the liter or pint. One who tries to measure goods by the liter and milk by the meter is crazy. If you went to a factory and you told him, how much are those dresses? And he says, $10, $50. Okay, give me 100 liters of it. Give me 100 liters of dresses. Huh? Excuse me? You speaking French again? What? You go to your local supermarket. Say, excuse me, can you get me 10 meters of milk? What? French? What'd you say again? What are you talking about? Wrong tools. Rav Wasserman is trying to teach us here that when you try to run or analyze Am Yisrael based on the metrics that you analyze the other nations, you're misleading people. Why? They have a different set of rules. You are assuming that just because the other nations, they act a certain way if the government does a certain thing. They do a certain thing because the religion does a certain thing. They act a certain way because of the weather does a certain. You are thinking that you can apply those same principles that apply to other nations to the Jewish people. Rav Wasserman is going to give you a stamp of approval. You are crazy. Why? Am Yisrael does not go by those rules. Proof? Look at our history. 3,300 years of suffering. 3,300 years of Holocausts. For 3,300 years, we've been chased and murdered, yet we're alive and the enemy is dead. Explain that to me. For 3,000 years, they hate us. For 3,000 years, they're murdering us. For 3,000 years, they're looking for opportunities to enslave us and torture us. Yet they all die and we're alive. Explain that one, based on the normal principles. Such are our modern politicians. Their standards are unsuitable. Those methods which are fitted to nations dwelling in their own lands are inappropriate to the Jewish situation. An effective policy requires that all conditions be taken into account. Just as our situation is extraordinary, so must be our political principles. It says if you're going to analyze and evaluate Am Yisrael in order to determine what is the policy we should instill for the people. What is the advice, if you will, we should use, guide the people, which way to go, which place to live in, where to invest, where to run away from, what to hide from, and so on and so forth. You cannot use the same rules you use for all of the other nations. Why? Because that means you're not taking all of the facts into consideration. If you're using only the metrics that the other nations use, those metrics are inappropriate for Am Yisrael. Why? We have a few extra things that are simply unique. They're simply unique. These principles are written down in our Holy Torah, which foresaw everything and foretold everything. Thousands of years have shown how right are the methods of the Torah. If you want to guide Am Yisrael, if you want to lead them, you want to give them advice, you want to tell them what's the right step, then you have to look at our Holy Torah. Why? Because that Torah has already shown us everything that has happened to us has already been written in it. And everything that will happen to us is also written in it. Just like you can find the stories of Am Yisrael being rescued from the Egyptians in slavery for over 200 years, you also can find in the Torah a promise from HaShem that He'll bring us a lot of blessings if we follow His Holy Torah. Yet several verses later you will find all types of punishments that He will give us, Hashem Yishmor, if we do not follow the Torah. And if you look at those punishments and you compare them to the things that have happened to Am Yisrael throughout history, you see that those punishments were not exaggerations, were not just empty talk, but in fact, every single one of them has happened. In every one of the major Holocausts we've had. From the lesser bad ones to the completely atrocious ones. From your average person having hemorrhoids to parents having to eat their children because they're starving. All of it happened. Torah says, if you don't follow the Torah, all of these things will happen. So Rav Wasserman says, if you want to lead the Jewish people, you have to look at the Torah. You cannot remove the Torah from our exile policy. Why? Because the Torah is the only thing that ever worked. It's the only thing that foretold us what's going to happen before it happened. And it's the only thing that has an unchangeable truth. An unbiased truth. A truth that is divine. Now, what are the methods of the Torah? God made Israel swear 3 oaths. Says, if you want to know why what's happening is happening, whether it's what was happening 80 years ago, or what's happening today, simple. Look in the Torah, he says. And he brings a source. Gemara, Masechet Ketubot, page 111a. And he says that Hashem made Am Yisrael swear, made a deal with them. Made a deal with Am Yisrael. at the time of Jeremiah, chapter 27, verse 22. Kadosh Baruch Hu made Am Yisrael swear. Made us take, there was 6 parts to the deal. 6 parts to the deal. He says, they will be brought to Babylonia and they will be there until the day that I attend to them. The word of HaShem. When I shall bring them up and return them to this place. In essence, HaShem is telling Am Yisrael, this disaster, now you're in Babylon, you're going to stay here until I bring you up back to Israel. And now you have to make a swear. Why do you have to make a swear? In order to maintain that the Jewish people will remain in exile among the nations in a natural way until the MaShiach arrives. I'm sorry, in an unnatural way, because technically any nation that is removed from their land for such an extended period of time would not survive. It says that in order for me to give you these unnatural rules, to preserve you among your enemies, you have to make an oath. 6 of them, actually. If you want this special protection. And this is the oath. Amar lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. The Holy One said to the Jewish people, oath number 1. The Jewish people should not converge upon Eretz Yisrael in a war force. Rashi says, don't force yourselves into the land of Israel. Don't go and be a hero and attack and force the Goyim to give you back the land. If I want you to have the land, you can get the land. Don't force yourself back in. 2. The Holy One, blessed be He, said, adjure the people. Not to rebel against the nations of the world. Make sure you're going to live among the Germans, Americans, Spaniards, Turkish, and so on and so forth. Don't be reformers of their policies and start all types of things that are trying to take down the government. Don't rebel. Be there. Take care of your family. Take care of yourselves. Try to be as unnoticeable as possible. Do good things. Bring good to the world. That's it. 3. The Holy One, blessed be He, adjourned the idolaters not to subjugate the Jewish people more than is sufficient. Hashem says to the idolaters, don't hurt my Jewish people more than I allow you to, meaning more than is needed. He needs to use the idol worshippers as a stick to hit us once in a while, but if they do more than what was supposed to, they'll get a punishment for that. Hence the reason of why Paul got punished and all the other tools that Hashem used over the years. Now, also there are parts of the deal, as a side note, is that for the prophets of the Jewish people not to reveal the time of MaShiach and even the people that pretend to be prophets, like with Torah codes, it's forbidden that the Jewish people should not make enough sins to distance the end of times, to delay the Mashiach because of their sins. And also that they shouldn't reveal the secrets to the idol worshippers. But we're going to focus on the first three. Not to force ourselves into Eretz Yisrael, not to be reformers and try to rebel against the nations, and to deal with the idol worshippers. Rav Wasserman says, the first of these three oaths means that the Jews may not be revolutionaries. As it says in Proverbs 24:21, my son, fear HaShem and the king, and do not meddle with inconsistent people. Hashem tells us through Shlomo HaMelech, you have to fear God, but you also have to fear the local king. Why? These nations, they're very emotional, hence inconsistent. One day they love us, the next day Paro forgot who Yosef is. One day he's the viceroy of Egypt, the next day he forgot Yosef. One day he's the son in Paro's house, the next day Paro tries to kill him. And so on and so forth. It says these nations are inconsistent. They don't have any real affection to us that's permanent that we can rely on. Don't mess with them. Why? Because then you are causing trouble. You're forcing Hashem to make miracles, and who says you have the merit to have miracles happen to you? Now, here we see that Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us not to mess with the goyim, not to do certain things. But in that very same Gemara, he tells us not to force ourselves into Eretz Yisrael. And this was the argument of why the Chachamim had already for 2,000 years about whether allowed to go to Israel, not allowed to go to Israel. This whole Gemara in Masechet Ketubot is Rabbi Zera arguing with his rabbi. Says, yes, you're right, the nation is not allowed to go to Israel, force themselves into Israel. That's the decree. That's the oath we made. But I'm not going as a nation, I'm going by myself. And that's what the Satmar Rebbe uses a constant argument against, and many other things obviously, that against all of the reformers, Zionists, that said, no, we're going to build our own country, we have our own land, Israel, He says, no, we're not allowed to go. And they asked the Satmar Rebbe, Alav Shalom, who the Baba Sali said was for sure one of the 36 tzaddikim that the whole world stood on while he was alive. It's Kodesh Kodashim. And they asked the Satmar Rebbe, do you think that the fact that we have a country now, surely it's being run by a bunch of Zionists, atheists, and reformers, but do you think it's from Hashem or from Satan? It says Maaseh Satan. That's how bad it was. Why? Because we made an oath that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to protect us in the exile as long as we follow the Torah. By going and forcing ourselves back to Eretz Yisrael, we're violating the Torah. So then you would say, wait a minute, hold on a second. What kind of rabbi is this? Why wouldn't he want to go to Eretz Yisrael? Maybe we should listen to Herzl and his friends that they wanted us to go to Eretz Yisrael. Maybe they were really like hidden tzaddikim. What was their reasons? What did they do? What did they want? Herzl wrote a personal journal. In the journal, he discussed parts of his life, and you see how he, like many other figures like him throughout history, a completely waste of lives types of people, very, very lowly people. When they're behind the scenes, when you see what their lives are really like, you see how lowly these people are. In the limelight, which is in essence how they live, they look like they're strong, wonderful people, but in their real lives, they're very lowly losers. Whether it be him or it be many other figures similar to him. See that they're loners that are not loners because they like to be alone, they're loners because everyone ran away from them, because they're such bad people. Like Herzl, for example, abandoned his wife and kids, didn't see them for 7 years. He was a very, very atrocious person, and he wrote everything in a journal. In a journal that he had, he would write that he's alone all the time and he's miserable. But many people thought that he was a good person, including big rabbis. Thought that he was a good person, and many of them would come to him, and he had a hat and he had a really long beard, and they swore that he keeps Torah. And he writes in his journals that these rabbis are treating me like I'm the MaShiach, and they swear that I'm religious. I just don't say nothing. I don't say nothing. And they think that I'm religious. And he writes in one part of his journal that he loves the Jewish people, and he wants to bring a country, wants Eretz Yisrael. But if these same Jewish people do not help him get the country that he wants, then he will kill every single one of them. And in fact, he almost did. In a Sefer called Natan LeMishisa Yaakov Yisrael Labozizim, by Rabbi Dr. Moshe Chaim Efraim Bloch. He writes a tell-all of Herzl and his friends, and without missing a beat, clarifies to whoever's reading it that one of the primary causes of the Holocaust was Herzl and his friends. Why? The primary source of information that Hitler and the rest of his anti-Semitic friends learned about Jewish people wasn't from necessarily the Jewish people they had around them, because most of the Jewish people they had around them were Reform people, were people that wanted to be German. They didn't want to be Jewish. So they didn't have much experience with Orthodox Jews, righteous Jews, good Jews. No, they had experience with very, very few Jews that acted more German than anything else. But yet, despite this, Hitler and his friends developed a hatred for Jewish people that is unexplainable. I mean, there's a story that's when Hitler, Imach Shimo, was a baby, he nearly died and a Jewish doctor saved his life. If anything, he should be grateful to that Jewish doctor and the rest of his people. But yet he hated them. Now surely he wrote in Mein Kampf that he hated them because they were revolutionaries, they destroyed Europe with their Russia with their communism, the Karl Marxes of the world and the ones that followed him, and they're unethical in business, and they're people that are traitors and so on. But he had a lot to say about them despite his relatively limited experience. Where did he get this information? when Herzl went to the rich Jewish people, like Rothschild, who was a religious Jew, and asked them for money for his campaign to get Israel, get a land, Rothschild denied him. Didn't believe in his cause, especially since Herzl was a heretic who had a love for Christianity and himself. He did not circumcise his son Hans, and actually had a Christmas tree in his house every year, and had letter exchanges between him and the Pope telling him about how his solution to anti-Semitism is by simply eliminating the Jews from the world by converting them to Christianity. So Rothschild, who didn't know all of this information, but nonetheless still rejected him, and other rich Jews rejected Herzl's plea, and he made them enemy number one. How? By using his pen as the number one most dangerous venom that hit Am Yisrael in nearly the last 2,000 years. Writing articles alongside his friends, other self-hating Jews, by the name of Nachum Goldberg and Yaakov Klitskin. Yaakov Klitskin was a story of his own because his father was one of the Gedolei Ador. But he was a self-hating Jew. Him, Herzl, Nachum, wrote articles in anti-Semitic newspapers about how Jewish people are traitors, how Jewish people hate the governments, how Jewish people are looking to take over the world. All of the conspiracies, all of the things that the anti-Semites say about us, they got from Herzl and his friends. And this is why, in this book by Rabbi Dr. Moshe Chaim Efraim Bloch, he says the real cause of the Holocaust, as far as of this world, the insinuators, the mekatregim, were Herzl, were the Zionists. They brought the Holocaust. Why? We didn't support their cause. So what they do? They wrote countless articles. And they were so obsessed with their cause, they paid the newspapers to publish their articles. Instead of the newspaper paying them for having articles like journalists, they paid the newspaper like it's advertising. They paid the newspaper to publish their articles week after week in order to create anti-Semitism. Now, why would someone that says on one hand that he loves the Jews and he wants a country, and then later on he's going to say at the same exact breath, we haven't even changed conversation, he says, I'm going to kill all of them if they don't support me. How does that even make sense in his crazy mind? It has nothing to do with the Jews. It has to do with his ego and what he wants. So why don't he just go to like Bangladesh or something? Why don't he go to Honolulu? Why don't he go to hell? When he goes, what do you want from the Jews? You don't like to be a Jew. You don't like the Jews. Go somewhere else. Go to Nigeria. Surely you can find some people that will follow you somewhere in India. Go somewhere else. What do you care about the Jews? Herzl and his friends were no different than missionaries, Christian missionaries, and were obsessed with their goal, so much so that they were willing to kill everybody in order to reach their prize, because for them, they figured if they cause anti-Semitism, and the Rothschilds of the world, and your average Goldberg of the world, and your average Reuven of the world is now going to be persecuted by Hitler, what are they going to do? They're going to run away. Where are they going to run to in Herzl's mind? They're going to run to Herzl. Oh yeah, Herzl, yeah, you're right, we need a country. Let's get out of this Germany. Let's get out of this hellhole. They hate us over here. And that was his mentality. And that's what he writes in his book. They wrote these articles time and time again in order to create anti-Semitism, fuel anti-Semitism that's risking the lives of millions and eventually killed millions of people, literally planting the hatred ideas into Hitler and his friends' minds. That's where they learned most of this information. Why? Because they have a goal. They want a country. They want a land. Yeah, but you're going to end up killing a bunch of people in the process. For the bigger cause, it's worth it. And don't think that these three, the Chaim, are the only ones. Many of the others, I've told you in the past, followed same suit, same mentality. Same mentality, same ideology, same craziness. But yet, HaShem still allowed Eretz Yisrael to come to life. So does that mean that the wicked Herzl and his friends succeeded? No. Rather, the right way to look at it is that despite the Zionists, despite the enemy within, Hashem still brought a blessing despite that. Even though it wasn't the right time, even though we made an oath that we weren't supposed to go back, now that we did and we're there, this in essence is Hashem made the curse turn into a blessing. But surely not without problems. Not without consequences. Why? Because that's what he said. The same Gemara that discusses that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us, if you want this protection among the exile, an unnatural protection that you're going to have in the exile until I bring Mashiach, you have to commit to these. You have to not be revolutionists, not go against the nation that's hosting you, not try to break into Israel and take over. You want this special protection? Then you have to follow this. Amar lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu leYisrael, אם אתם מקיימים את השבועה, מוטב. ואם לאו, אני מתיר בשרכם כצבאות וכעילות השדה. The Holy One, blessed is He, said to the Jewish people, if you abide by the oath, it will be well and good for you. But if not, I will permit your flesh to be hunted by the idolaters as the gazelles and as the hinds of the field. Based on the verse in Song of Songs 2:7. You fulfill your end of the bargain, I'll protect you. If not, you'll be chased like the gazelle. It's chased by the lion, chased by the hyenas, chased by the tiger, chased by the, every single thing wants to kill it. Everybody is the enemy of the gazelle. Everyone. Doesn't have any friends. You follow that oath, you'll be like the gazelle that blends into the background. No one even knows it's there. Not, all of a sudden, everyone's going to notice only you. They're not going to notice the Muslims. They're not going to notice the Christians. They're not going to notice the Buddhists. They're not going to notice the Germans. They're not going to notice the Spaniards. They're not going to notice anybody else. No one is going to notice anybody else but you. As if you're the only prey available. And everyone's starving. Hashem yishmo v'yatzil. Why? You did not fulfill the oath. We had a deal, you didn't follow. Now, despite all of this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still protects us. But again, like I said, that's not without problems. But as we can see, the problems are like a self-afflicted wound. We're causing it to ourselves. Today, Zionism is not necessarily as strong as it used to be, even remotely close to it, but nonetheless still causing trouble. Today it's more of the lefty liberal mentality, anti-Torah mentality, which is similar but not the same. But that mentality has unfortunately caused us much problems in the recent history. How so? If you notice, Herzl did not hate religion. He wasn't an atheist. And many of the Zionists were not atheists. They all hated, the founders, predominantly hated Judaism, but they weren't atheists. There was a few that were, but majority of them were not atheists. But they hated Judaism. What did they like? Christianity. Many of them converted to Christianity. Many of them did deals with the Christians. Many of them got funding from the Christians. And that is one of the things that has not changed. Till this day, many people are opening Am Yisrael's sheep to the Christian world, where despite the state of Israel being closed for all visitors, you cannot go visit Israel unless you're a citizen, and even that is a problem. You cannot leave Israel. But yet, despite all of this, as Rabbi Tovia Singer brought out recently, the state of Israel somehow allowed Christian missionaries to come on planes several times and move, not visit only, move into Eretz Yisrael during this whole COVID-19 nightmare. The Jews can't leave their house. Rabbi Efraim wasn't able to leave his house for months, other than go to the store to get some milk for the kids. Couldn't leave your house. But the Christian missionaries were able to come in droves and planes to missionize in Israel. Why? The government are not fans of the Torah. But you can say, wait a minute, but Bibi Netanyahu has a shiur Torah every Tuesday. And sometimes when he speaks, you see some Gemara behind him or some Tanakh behind him. Yeah, that could be because, I don't know, maybe he's a missionary himself. Who knows? That's my hunch personally, by the way. Either way, he's a Mechalet Shabbat, so we don't have any concern as far as Lashon Hara, Rechilut, or any of that stuff with him. But the reality is, he is allowing missionaries into the country. No different than many of the Zionists before him. So much so that even within the religious community, Rabotai, as we've talked about many times, it's become protocol in several communities, whether it's in Boca Raton or Atlanta or some places in New York and other places in the world, to bring Christians, whether they be missionary or not, to speak to Jewish people. In the UK, Efraim Mirvis, Shem Reshaim Yirkav, he is on a regular basis bringing Christians into his places to speak to Jewish people. The guys in Israel are opening a whole Bet Midrash for Christians and Jews to communicate. You're seeing that there's something wrong here. And it's not just the secular world, but rather also in the religious world. So the question is, why is this so dangerous? Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 27b, has a story. Maaseh ben Dama ben achoto shel Rabbi Ishmael. An incident occurred with Ben Dama, that was his name, the son of Rabbi Ishmael's sister. So Rabbi Ishmael's nephew, who was bitten by a poisonous snake. And Yaakov of Kfar Sechna came to heal him, but Rabbi Ishmael did not let him. Why would he not let him? Why would Rabbi Ishmael Kodesh Kodeshim? Why would Rabbi Ishmael, who sees that his nephew is at life risk right now, was just bitten by a snake, a poisonous snake, why would he not let the doctor heal his nephew? Because the doctor was one of the Talmidim of Yeshu HaNotzri. Yeshu Yimach Shemo V'Zichro. He was a mean missionary. Doctor, but missionary too. So Ben Dama was a Talmid Chacham. Says to his uncle Rabbi Ishmael, Rabbi Ishmael, my brother, leave him be, and let me be healed by him. And after, I will cite a verse from the Torah teaching that this is permitted. Talmid Chacham, listen, let me get healed. And after he heals me, we're going to go, I feel better. We'll go to the books, I'll show you a verse from the Torah, shows me it's allowed. Rabbi Ishmael will not let in. Did not let it happen. He says, not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed to get treatment from this guy. And Ben Dama died in front of him. As he died, Kara alav Rabbi Ishmael, Ashrecha Ben Dama, Shegufcha ta'or v'yatz'a nishmatcha b'ta'ora. Fortunate are you, Ben Dama, for your body is pure and your soul departed in purity. Velo avarta al divrei chaverecha, and you did not transgress the words of your fellow, the sages, who prohibited seeking medical treatment from the minim, from the missionaries. For they used to say, Shayu omrim uporetz gader yishchenu nachash. For they used to say that one who breaches the fence, meaning doesn't listen to the sages, will be bitten by a snake. Thus we see that even a patient who stands surely to die may not seek medical treatment from these missionaries. It's not just a doctor that's not Jewish. It's specifically a missionary. Someone that's amin. So the Chachamim say, what's the difference? If he prays to Buddha, or if he prays to Yoshki, he says what's the difference? What's the difference if he's just Catholic or Christian, or he's the really zealous type, like the religious Christian? Not just the guy that's born Christian. It's two different people. What's the difference if he's not one of these people from India that likes to eat humans on the weekend? Or drinks a little bit of cow urine? Or prays to a motorcycle or a rat? What's the difference? It says, minut is different from mere paganism. Missionizing, the missionaries are different from regular idol worshippers. How so? How so? How so? Before we give you that answer, we go back in the same Gemara, page 17a. The rabbi of Rabbi Akiva was walking one day, and one of the Talmidim of Yoshke came by him and gave him a chidush based on his Brit Chadasha, based on his New Testament. Didn't have anything to do with heresy. It was like a funny joke making fun of immorality. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos didn't say anything, but in his heart he found it funny, he enjoyed it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu almost killed him because of this. When he did Cheshbon Nefesh, he realized that's the reason. Why? He says, the heretic's dictum pleased me, and I therefore assume that in the account of this incident, I was seized for the purpose of being coerced into minut, into heresy. And it was specifically because I transgressed that which is written in the Torah, Archek me'alea darkecha, zo minut. Distance yourself from her. This is referring to missionizing. Ve'al tikrav el petach beta, al tikrav el petach beta, zo harashut. And do not come near to our door. This is, literally it's referring to an immoral woman, immodest woman, a zonah. This is referring to the leadership, their leaders. So Rabbi Eliyahu ben Kin says, I liked the speech that was on Sunday TV by the priest that has 50,000 followers. I enjoyed watching it on Sunday morning. I enjoyed watching Michael Brown, the heretic, talk about his nonsense. I liked some of his stories. Rabbi Eliyahu ben Kin says, by listening to them, you're violating the Torah. Why? Torah specifically says, stay away from her. Stay away from it. It's dangerous. Why? Why is it dangerous? Why is it so dangerous? The Gemara says because minut, missionizing, is different. It's different because it attracts followers. In a Sefer called Piskei Rid by Rabbi Yeshaya the Tarani, a Rishon from the 1100s from Italy, one of the sages, 800 years ago. He has commentary on this Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 27b. He says, what is the meaning of minut being different from mere paganism? How is the Christian missionary different from some Buddha? How is he different from somebody else? He says, because the missionaries, Rabotai Yekarim, listen to this. He says, because the missionaries, already 800 years ago, the missionaries are zealous to the point of obsession with this form of idolatry in order to attract Jewish followers, and therefore, even being next to them for a mere hour is grave danger for a Jewish person. Hence the halacha, the reason you're not allowed to be within 6 feet of them. They are obsessed with their idolatry, their belief in Yoshke, to the point of craziness. To the point of craziness. What kind of craziness? Their book says that the only way they're going to get rewarded is if the Jewish people, the chosen one, it says it in their book, the chosen people, the great people, their God was a Jew. So their salvation will come when the Jewish people become Christian. They accept Yoshke. So you'd figure, they say, we love Jews. But the second the Jewish people said, listen, you can say you love us until you turn blue in the face, we're not converting. What do? Their craziness turns into murder. And they start massacring us by the millions. Wait, but you just told us you love us. You just told us that your God is one of us. You just told us that your whole salvation depends on us. How is your salvation going to come if you're going to kill all of us? Where do we see the same mentality? Zionism. Herzl Zionism. When it didn't go his way, he figured he'd kill us in the process. Says this minut, this missionizing, it's not normal. It's not like anything else. You go to India, you go to different places in the world, they have different religions. Most of the time they're not going to care that you're even there. And surely they're not going to try missionizing you. And if you simply say no, most of the time they just walk away from you. Okay, you don't want to eat people like us? Okay, fine, go. You're missing out. Delicious. You don't want to drink a little bit of a cup of cow urine and pray to the cow because she takes 9 months to give birth. You don't want to pray to that? You're missing out. That's it. But the Christian missionaries, they can't handle it. They can't handle it. Rabbi Daniel Asor, who himself used to be a missionary, before he became a religious Jew, a rabbi, Talmid Chacham, an anti-missionary, he himself used to be a missionary. He knows all the secrets. Wrote a book about it. One time, recently, he told his story firsthand to my Rav because they attend the same kollel. And he met with the top 2 most dangerous missionaries in Israel, probably in the world today. There's 2 clowns from One for Israel, Eitan and Moti. He met them at a cafe, neutral place, to have a debate. But not like they always want, to make a stage out of it and so on, but sophisticated debate among peers, if you will. He's trying to get them to leave and abandon their heresy, and surely they're trying to get him to join them. But needless to say, this is supposed to be cordial, nice, civilized, and so on. After he destroys both of them in the cafe, beats them in the debate, proves everything that they're saying wrong, they both get up and try to beat him up. They both get up and try to beat him up. He was already prepared ahead of time. He was in the Air Force. He was a smart guy. Already knew this was going to happen ahead of time. He knows Christians like the back of his hands. He already prepared. A few people came in and broke it up. But they tried to beat him up, tried to break his bones. Why? In the missionary mentality, this is a necessary evil. Where did they get it from? Their father Esav. In Parashat Vayishlach, Yaakov, before he goes to meet Esav, runs into the Sar of Edom, the angel of Edom. And the Pasuk says, when the angel figured out that he couldn't conquer Yaakov, couldn't overcome him, what did he do? He hit him in the Kaf Yericho. He hit him in a place that caused just a little bit of damage. Meaning, I'm going to pretend like we're friends. I love you, you love me, right? Yeah, I'm going to give you some money. Yeah, pretend. Ha, ha, ha. Oh wait, you don't want to be Christian? Tah! At least I got something. At least I got something. And that's how it works. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. Now, if you're offended by it, be offended. That's real. You can't debate it. That's history. That's reality. That's a reality of the world. Now, this, Rabotai, is only being allowed to happen because we are not keeping our end of the bargain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we were keeping our end of the bargain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll protect you in an unnatural way. But when we don't keep our bargains with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't keep Shabbat, we start acting like Goyim, we make ourselves enemies to each other. Even in the house, even in the houses of people's houses, they're enemies with each other. The woman is nicer to the repairman than she is to her husband. The repairman comes to fix the air conditioner. He comes to fix the lawnmower. He comes to fix the machine to wash clothes. Oh, can I get you something, sir? You need a coffee? Oh, you want some water? You need anything? Oh, it's good? Okay, fine, fine. A husband comes home. You again. Why are you nicer to the repairman than you are to your husband? Why are you nicer to the repairman than you are to your husband? Why? People talk about the politicians that they like as if they're gods. But the rabbi says one thing that you don't follow and you don't like him saying it, you turn him into a Nazi. The politician is pro things that are against the Torah. He's pro-abortion. He's pro-missionizing. He's pro all types of heresy. You don't have a problem. No, but he does a lot of good, right? He does a lot of good. The rabbi says a mechalel Shabbat is considered an idol worshiper. This rabbi is crazy. What happened? What happened? Your conquerors, your destroyers will come from within you. The only reason the missionaries, the Zionists, or any enemy of Am Yisrael is allowed to hunt us like gazelle is because we're not holding our end of the bargain. The good news is, it's not that difficult to hold our end of the bargain. All you got to do, Sur mira ve'aseh tov. Stop doing evil and do good. David HaMelech says. First is stop doing evil. Meaning, don't violate Shabbat. Don't eat non-kosher. Don't waste seed. Don't make sins according to the Torah. According to the rabbis. According to what we have. Our Masoret. Don't make sins. And if you want a little bit of extra bonus, make some mitzvot too. Do good. Sur mira ve'aseh tov. But first, sur mira. Don't say, no, I do good. No. The verse doesn't say, do good and then don't do bad. It says, don't do bad, then do good. Why? Because even if you do good while doing bad, if that bad is significant, like violating our foundational principles of our faith, violating the 10 Commandments, violating the covenants that we have between us and HaShem, all the good in the world that you're doing is not going to help. All the good in the world that you're doing is not going to help. And that's one of the main things that we have to understand as a people. So first and foremost, we have to understand, what are we not allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? We're not allowed to be friends with people that are missionaries. We're not allowed to watch their videos. We're not allowed to support them in any way. Even if they're nice, even if they're cordial, even if they have a smile with teeth like it just came out of a movie. Not allowed. Why? It's all an act. Because minut is not like other paganism. There is no friendship with someone that's a spiritual terrorist. Same concept goes to people that are fanatic about Zionism, even if it ends up violating the Torah. Yes, if you can live in Eretz Yisrael in a religious neighborhood, go for it. It's a blessing that we have a place in the world that there are more Jews than non-Jews, even though that's unfortunately changing a little bit. But the reality is that you have to understand that if you're living in Israel, it's going to violate the Torah, because over there you'll be less religious, over there you're not going to be religious, over there you're going to be friends with a bunch of secular people, over there you're going to do all types of things that are forbidden by Torah. You can't go there. You can't even visit. And that's what people need to understand. Yes, we have a love for the state of Israel. We have a love for the country itself. That's a land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us. And despite the Zionists being behind a lot of things that happened that brought us to where we are today, the real founders of Eretz Yisrael, modern day Israel even, are religious Jews. Unfortunately, they just were taken advantage of by these Zionists. But despite the curse of the Zionists, we got a blessing still. Needless to say, we still have to tread carefully. Why? Because these Zionists are still there. They're not as strong as they used to be, but they're just as dangerous. Why? Because now they're supporting our enemies, the ones that are trying to kill us spiritually, just like they themselves tried. They're allowing Christian missionaries into all Jewish communities as if it's a mitzvah. Because now you have this mentality of unity with everyone, and unfortunately, this is part of the problem that got us to where we are today. You know, the Christians are doing everything possible to make themselves look more similar to us. Just today, somebody told me that now the Christians are doing Brit Milah. They're doing Brit Milah, the Christians. They're doing Brit Milah, and they're even getting rabbis to do it. Needless to say, this is not allowed. You're allowed to circumcise a non-Jew, but not as a form of a mitzvah, for medical reasons. But it shouldn't be a rabbi. It should be a doctor. And if a rabbi does it, he's to a non-Jew, he has to charge money. He's not allowed to do it for free like he does it for Jews. But that's the problem. When you're able to charge money to the non-Jew, and you're not allowed to charge the Jew money, guess what? A lot of people fall. He needs money, he needs to pay rent. The Jews can't pay me for the Brit Milah, or doesn't pay me for the Brit Milah unless he wants to donate. But the Christian is willing to pay $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for it, no problem. So what's happening? Messianics right now are getting Brit Milah. Already a few years ago, I saw many things, people showing me their mezuzah on Christian homes. They have mezuzah with their yoshki in it. There's another place in Texas, there's a organization called Lapid. And there's a few others like it. They have a mikveh. They have a mikveh. From family purity that Jews have, we're the only religion in the world that has something called family purity, but they want to look like us. They have a mikveh too. They don't even know what it is and how to use it, but they want to have it. Why? Because they have all the money in the world. They have a menorah, replica of what they have, what they had in the Bet HaMikdash. I wouldn't be surprised if it's all gold also. Because money has never been their problem. But the key is that you're seeing that they are working extra hard today in order to blur out the difference. Why? They're obsessed with their idolatry to the point where all rules, all simple courtesy are being ignored completely, and they're literally going guns out, blazing, where they're going out full, last hurrah, to try to convert as many Jews to Christianity as possible. If you see the things that the Christian missionaries, especially the ones that call themselves Messianic Jews, the stuff that they're using, the stuff that they're doing to missionize Jews, you'd literally want to vomit. If we were as zealous as them, all of Am Yisrael would have already done tshuva. But they're doing everything possible. Why? Because again, minut is not like other forms of idolatry. This also should be a message you should give any rabbi that does not understand it. Make sure they watch this. Make sure they watch the other things. Because a lot of rabbis are naive when it comes to Christianity and the danger from it. And they befriend them and they like to do business with them and get money from them because they don't realize when you get a donation from a Christian, it's not a donation, it's an investment. It's simply an investment to have walk in, walk out policy whenever they feel like it. Open door policy. Because if I'm donating a few dollars to your organization, you're not going to kick me out. Especially after I've donated a few dollars more than everybody else. And that's what's happening. And this is mainly happening with modern Orthodox kehilot, which are unfortunately the most vulnerable among us today. There are a lot of good people in modern Orthodoxy, but unfortunately there are very, very vulnerable people that are weak already and are treating Christianity as if it's a friend. People are not understanding that we are in danger. But again, remember, we're only in danger not because of the Christians, because we are not following the deal. If we all did tshuva, if we all increased the amount of Torah that we're learning, if we all started believing in HaShem as much as we believed in Donald Trump, suddenly we become the gazelle that nobody wants anything to do with. Suddenly, everybody goes back to their business, we go back to our business, and MaShiach comes in a good way, and all of those people that follow the false god will see that their forefathers lied to them, as the prophet says, and they each of one of the 70 nations, 10 out of the 70 nations, will grab onto the corners of each Jew that wears a tzitzit and say to them, my forefathers have lied to us. They brought us yoshke, they brought us a lie, an idol. You are the people, you are the Jewish people that follow the Torah, follow the God of Israel. You have the truth, please teach us. And each Jew that wears the tzitzit will have 2,800 Noahites following them because they want to learn. Not servants like slaves, like some idiots think. That are the anti-Semites think that the Jews want all the goyim to be slaves. Is that the goyim that are righteous, that are not missionaries, that are not trying to hurt Am Yisrael, that are not trying to convert Am Yisrael, but rather trying to help Am Yisrael get closer to HaShem. Those righteous goyim, they want a rabbi. They want someone to teach them Torah. Why? Because all they learned their whole life is lies. But you, Am Yisrael, you have to understand that despite all of the darkness that we have, and even though some of that darkness came from within us, a little bit of light makes all the darkness go away. We don't go and fight them physically. That's not our way. We don't go and shoot anyone. We don't go kill anyone. We're not a violent people. Our weapon of mass destruction is the Torah. When we learn Torah, the Satan gets destroyed. Our enemies get destroyed. That has been the policy that has worked for us for the last 3,300 years. No other policy works for us. Not weapons, not missiles, not spears, not martial arts, not newspapers. Torah. Learning more Torah. If each one of us starts learning a little bit more, starts encouraging other people to learn a little bit more, starts doing more, you'll see that suddenly the tables turn and Am Yisrael is now in a better position. But until then, you have to understand that we are currently under the decree of being the gazelle that HaShem just loosened the enemy to eat. That's the world we live in right now. That's where we're at right now. So it's a dangerous time, but it's also an opportunity to do good. An opportunity to be a superhero. How? You finish the shiur tonight, get some rest. Tomorrow, you wake up, you learn some Torah, you pray, you do your work, do whatever it is work you need to do, and again, you're back to learning Torah again. And the next day, same thing. And the next day, same thing. The next day, same thing. Help us do some more kiruv. Help us get more people to sign up. Help us get some more people to learn more Torah. Because that's in essence, Rabotai, what we all have. It's all we have. Many times people, we're going to finalize with a story. Many times people, figure that, they'll do whatever they feel like doing now, but they'll set up themselves, the biggest giving that they do, they'll set it up for the future. So they have a nest egg that they build and build and build because they want to have enough money for retirement. No one's promising that they're ever going to see retirement, but nonetheless, they save for retirement. They have a second house. They have a third business. They have a lot of different things. So when it comes to using money to publicize Torah, to get Am Yisrael to do tshuva and things, and to fight the missionaries and so on, they send a little bit, but it's nowhere near what they should. Because they figure later on I'll do more. Well, that same Rothschild that I spoke about earlier today, that same Rothschild, when he met the Chafetz Chaim, he was a righteous person. And he was amazed that the Chafetz Chaim was so honest that when he sent him 50 liras, the Chafetz Chaim returned 36 of them because only 14 was needed to get his books. So he sent him the books. He says, no, I don't want the 36. I don't take presents from people. Rothschild gave him extra, figured it's Talmid Chacham. Let me invest in a Talmid Chacham. Chafetz Chaim rejected it. Send it back to him. He was so amazed by it, he said, I have to meet this Chacham. So the Rothschild met him, and he says to him, Kvod Harav, you're a giant in Torah. Where's your furniture? Where's the lights? Where's the floor? There was no floor. There was sand. There was no floor. Chafetz Chaim refused to let his wife have floor on the bottom. She said, if you're going to have floor, you're probably not going to want to have guests, because you don't want them to ruin your floor. So might as well not have floor. Have sand. He says, Kvod Harav, where's the floor? Where's the chandelier? Where's the furniture? Chafetz Chaim says to Rothschild, where's your furniture? He says, Kvod Harav, my furniture, is in my house. You come to my house. Ooh, I have rooms and rooms of 3, 4, 5 living rooms and a chandelier from this country and a carpet from that country and all types of wonderful things, but I'm just visiting here. I'm from a different country. Chafetz Chaim says to him, I'm also just visiting here. You come to my Olam Haba, I show you I have a lot of nice things. At that moment, Rothschild committed to giving 5,000 a year or 5,000 a month to the yeshiva of the Chafetz Chaim. Now that was a lot of money, but he had at the time a net worth of something like 33 million. So it wasn't Maser. It wasn't Maser exactly. Anyway, one time the Chafetz Chaim figured out big plan. The Talmidim in the yeshiva was suffering. There was a lot of poverty and so on. He figured, you know what? It's time to ask for money for the yeshiva. He sent a letter to Rothschild. If you donate 1 million, to the yeshiva, because it's going to bring a lot of kedusha to the world, comfort, they can learn, they can eat, they can have what's needed, I promise you a part of my Olam Haba. Imagine. Chafetz Chaim comes to you and says, I'll give you my Olam Haba. I'll give you a part of my Olam Haba. What 1 million? Take the whole 30. Take the whole 30. Unfortunately, Rothschild planned that most of his wealth was going to go after he died. He figured he's also going to live much longer. And such planning was known by Shamayim, and he didn't merit to give that money. Why? That letter was never seen by him. His children saw it and hid it from him because they weren't like their father. He got sick shortly after and died. After he died, even the 5,000 stopped coming. The Chafetz Chaim called one of the people from the house that worked for the father. Tell me, okay, I understand he never got the letter, so that's why he didn't get the money. I'm sure he would have given had he seen the letter during his life instead of waiting after he died. But now that he died, why aren't they at least even given the 5,000 that we're giving? The employee that was so embarrassed, he says, Kvod Harav, the children are very, very worlds apart from what their father is. Meaning, not so religious. Affected by Zionism, affected by Christianity, affected by Tum'ah, secularism, and so on. This is why I tell people all the time. All the things that we're doing, many times, we don't even know how we're going to pay for them. But we do it anyway. When this thing came up with the seminary in Israel or some of the other ideas that we have, Baruch Hashem, they all work in the end. But I ask my Rav all the time, listen, we have this thing and we're going to do it or what are we going to do? He says, we only have one principle. We don't know how long we're going to live. While we're here, grab the mitzvot as fast as you can. That's the principle. Grab the mitzvot as fast as you can. Why? Who says you're going to be here tomorrow? Who says you're going to be here in 10 years from now? Who says you're going to see retirement? A lot of people are planning for retirement and coronavirus killed them. Or 1.5 million other things are killing people. People need to understand, right now is a time of danger for Am Yisrael. We have endless amount of dangers around us, and we need to do something to soften the decree. Soften the decree. I pray we haven't lost the merit of giving shiurim even, because as of right now, we don't even have a place for next week. In reality, the amount of people that watch my shiurim in the world 60 million minutes a year, or right now we're on a run rate of almost 100 million a year. The amount of subscribers has increased 300%. The amount of people that are benefiting from our Torah, we should have raised millions of dollars. We should have bought an empire of buildings if everybody just simply donated what they're supposed to donate. Of course, there's some people that are very generous and they donate and I have no complaints with them. And I know that there's certain people that they donate, they don't know how much, but they still give. But there are countless people that simply don't. They just mooch. They ask 5 billion questions but contribute nothing. And this is why we're here where we are. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that just milk everything. They just mooch everything. Suck the blood out of everything but contribute nothing. It's not a good trait and it's not the right time to do that. Don't worry, we're going to find a place. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent upon us not one way or the other. But we don't want to be in a situation where HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the salvation to the world and we weren't part of it. HaShem is going to bring salvation and you could have had a part of it and you didn't. Why? You were saving for whatever people save for. You were spending your time on whatever people are spending their time doing. People need to understand there is a certain amount of time every single person is going to be alive. While you're alive, grab whatever you can. I'm not saying make yourself poor or go on the street or make yourself homeless and be irresponsible. There are rules that are certain. You're not allowed to make yourself poor with tzedakah. Judaism is the only religion in the world that says it's forbidden for you to make yourself poor when it comes to giving. You give maaser, you want to give more maaser, you give chomish, 20% of your income, but that's income. As far as tzedakah, you give a certain amount of tzedakah as long as you don't make yourself poor. If you have a lot of money, you have millions of dollars, then you're allowed to give most of it because you don't need all of it. But if you're a regular person, you give a certain amount. Point being is that if everybody just simply gave what they're supposed to, a lot of things will be different. Not just with Bezrat Hashem, with the whole world. If people simply invested as much time learning Torah as they do, watching politics, things will be different. Spend as much time investing in Torah as much as they do on dining out, things will be different. This is a time where Rav Wasserman tells us, yes, for the last several months, we've talked about the era of Mashiach, the problems coming from the leadership. And it's true. The main reason is the leadership. But it doesn't mean that we're perfect angels. The leaders are the leaders and they're bad and, that's a problem. But it doesn't mean that the rest of us are perfect angels. The rest of us still got to do what we got to do to show Hashem that we don't want to be a gazelle chased by lions and hyenas and leopards and pumas. We want to blend into the mountain and pretend like we don't exist until MaShiach shows up and he can kick everybody's tuchas. Be'ezrat Hashem, this will give us enough chizuk and motivation to do good. As a side note, if anybody noticed, Rabbi Efraim has been doing a campaign which I would love to have as many of you join as well, which is a campaign to get at least 1,000 new Jews to keep Shabbat by the time Chanukah is here, which is less than a month. He already got 100 new ones to sign up in the last 24 hours. So anybody that is smart, wants to bring blessing to their life, and is willing to do it the way that Hashem said it, which is to keep Shabbat, this is the time to start. If you already keep Shabbat, good for you. Try to motivate somebody else. If somebody is watching this and is willing to take on Shabbat, please send me your name. And we'll have one of our tzaddikim that's goes to Kever Rachel and the Kotel pray for you during Chanukah. A special prayer. We're going to pray for all 1,000 people. All 1,000 people that take on a Shabbat. But again, this is for Jews because Jews are the ones that are obligated to keep Shabbat, whereas non-Jews are not allowed to keep Shabbat. But if you're in the process of conversion, you should keep 99% of it, but it's still nonetheless considered practice, not an obligation. So this is specifically for Jewish people that already have an understanding that they're Jewish, and needless to say, they don't keep Shabbat right now. If you take it on, please let us know, and Bezrat Hashem will have one of our tzaddikim pray for you on Chanukah. We're trying to get at least 1,000. I think we could Bezrat Hashem get a lot more if we already in the last 24 hours got 100. But either way, if you know somebody, let me know and send me the names. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'amen.
Baruch Hashem, we've completed another year at Bezrat Hashem. Rabbi Efraim and I are very proud to announce some major milestones that we've achieved, Bezrat Hashem, and with your help, our dear partners. Over 60 million minutes of our Torah has been watched over the last year. That's 1 million hours of Torah to help people do tshuva and get closer to Hashem. Over 300,000 CDs have been distributed around the world for free. We've also made over 1,000 lectures between the two of us, as well as also with Rav Chaim being added to the roster. Over 60,000 regular viewers are watching our Torah right now across the board. Over 200,000 answers regarding halacha, family, shlom bayit, different topics on a regular basis being given to people. Over 10,000 people have been helped, whether it's for food or different financial issues. 1,000 families of Torah scholars are being helped by Irgun Bezrat Hashem. We've published and distributed over 5,000 halachic books, kuntresses, newsletters, musar books around the world. We are also currently helping over 130 families complete their conversion to Orthodox Judaism. Our TV channel continues to grow, our YouTube channel, our Facebook pages, our WhatsApp pages, everything continues to grow, Baruch Hashem. Thanks to Hashem, and thanks to our dear partners. Bezrat Hashem, much more next year.
B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, we're very excited to offer you the new Bezrat Hashem app 3.0. It's a newer, faster app, full of Torah, lots of Kedusha, by the shiurim that we do, myself, Rabbi Efraim, Rav Chaim, where you'll have also newer features where you're able to use the app while you're using other applications on your phone. You'll be able to share the lectures directly from the app. You'll be able to donate online and support our Cube and our Torah work that we're doing. And the most exciting feature is that you'll be able to actually ask questions directly on the app and get answers from the rabbis directly from the app. This is something unprecedented, and Baruch Hashem will be able to offer it. Thank you again for all of your support. Check it out. Make sure you have the kosher Torah that will re-energize your neshama each and every single day. Call to B'chav Atzlacha.